everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Allen Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And this is episode 80.
80?
80.
18? Or
no.
8?
It is very much not 18. It is 80.
80.
Okay. Of the Hustling Sideways podcast.
That's great.
It is also the first time that Jim and I are in this room doing a podcast in like 4 months.
4 months, which is like a record.
Yeah.
It's been... I walked in, I was like, oh, that's right, this house exists.
Yeah.
Do you have a studio in the back where you record your shows?
Yeah, there's a whole thing and
Yeah.
everything. We've been in it a few times.
If you've been listening to the show for a long time, which I hope you haven't. If you haven't, shame on you. But I did Google directions because I once again forgot.
Oh, that's all right. You didn't ask for the address, so that's good.
No, I didn't. I remembered that. That's burned in my head. But, from my house to here is now 21 minutes. Which, it's what happens when you move,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a minute. I guess between blame me travel stuff and then Marquette things. Which
No,
we'll get into.
I would say life things happen.
No, blame me. I was saying to blame.
Well,
Yeah, it's
then
okay.
I will blame you.
Yeah,
yes.
it's my fault. That's fine. It's nice.
We've both been very busy
Yes.
with both side hustles, careers, all of those
All the things. And now it's summer.
Yeah.
And it feels good, y'all. It feels really, really good.
So I'm going to back up just a second here. Every 10 episodes, we like to do a check-in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Kind of do.
Yeah, good point.
That's why we're here. That's why we don't have a guest today.
Yeah, we do have a guest. They're coming out.
They're
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come
It's
on
like the
in.
Today Show.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's like the Today Show. They
Yeah.
can just show up at the
Morgan
window.
Freeman. Yeah, come on. Come on.
Wouldn't that be an amazing idea for a podcast to just be like, to just put a microphone out there and be like, whoever, like on the sidewalk.
Come on in. Oh, we should do this on like 3rd Street, like in downtown
Yeah, just
Milwaukee.
put it on like the sidewalk
Just,
and like
be
connect
here.
to somebody.
Oh, that would be a dangerous show, folks. Get ready
Cutting
for that
all
one.
of this footage because
Uh-huh.
we're going to save that idea.
It's gonna be great.
So every 10 episodes, we like to do a check-in and talk about kind of usually either the guests that we've had on or even just like a state of the podcast kind of thing. And I think today is going to be more state of the podcast because
and it's over.
So much has happened. No,
we're
it's
done.
not.
Yeah, that's ending.
No, it's very much not.
I thought this was the.
No.
Oh, well,
80 is not a milestone you go out on.
I thought we were over.
No.
I guess that was a miscommunication. We'll chat about this offline.
Yeah, right. No. So we're checking in on like the state of the podcast because it has been like honestly like 6 months since we've had
no doubt.
a check-in like this because so we count this as episode 80 but the Marquette episodes don't count in the numbers because they are like extra.
Yes.
So we've probably done closer to almost 90 at this point.
It's been wild. Yeah, and it's been so 3 years and almost 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Because we started in January of 2021.
Yeah.
And
so
now
3.5 years.
June, literally, 3.5.
Yeah.
So it's been wild. And it's been so much fun to switch it up. Like to be doing live shows, which folks, I will tell you, if you have been following this or if you haven't, again, shame on you. But we've been able to get 30 to 40 people at these shows on Marquette's campus. And
which to get kids
awesome.
in the middle of their college
now
life.
I will say free food absolutely probably helps that.
They're probably there for the
at
food.
least 35 out of 40 of them. But literally when we did our first show with Jeff Sherman, who's a good friend of mine, we had a couple.
It was an intimate crowd.
We tried.
Is
right?
the phrasing that we were gonna go with.
Yeah, it was. The folks were very committed. But
Yeah.
as it went on, I think we got maybe 10 and then 20 and then people. We've had repeat customers. It's really been cool to watch like the folks who are going there every week or I should say every month.
Every month, yeah.
And really identifying or seeing some level of passion that they love on different topics. That's what I love. Like you get one kid asking several questions on a totally different topic, but about entrepreneurship. And it's been really cool to watch them connect. And then to have like the guests stay, because let's be honest, they're not there for us. Like I'm okay to admit that. They're there for the great guests. And we just happen to be there and asking some questions. But the guests will stick around, chat with them, and connect on this with the student on a very different, more organic level than we've ever been able to do. And it's been really fun to watch it. And just kind of have like literally a front row seat or almost I guess like a driver's seat to it. And then like just kind of guide the flow of the conversation and get to a point where they're sharing a lot. Facilitators. There you go. Group facilitators. So it's been a blast. And we've been able to share, many of you may know that we're on a Young Alumni Association within Marquette, and we got to share about this show a couple weeks ago, like to the rest of our board. It was really cool.
We might have some guests from there eventually.
We've already had two for sure. The twins that have come on, which has been great.
It is very like I never thought when I was in college at Marquette that I would ever really do anything with the university beyond school. Like
you and I are so different on that. I knew I would.
Well,
but,
yeah, I know,
I'm
but
a maniac, but
you were
fine.
front row at every basketball game. Like by
I knew
choice.
I'd be around for a little while.
So I didn't really know. Like I thought mainly because it was kind of like a imposter syndrome kind of thing. I was like, well, why would they want to pick me for anything, right? Like,
and we're still asking that question.
Yeah,
so,
sometimes. But it is really cool to come back to campus and to be able to do those shows and actually I feel like we're giving something back to like the kids that are there.
We're paying for parking. I guess that's
that
one.
too. Yeah,
so we're quite literally giving back. But to the students,
but to give something back to the students has
cool.
been very cool. It is also a whole new kind of world for me, and I think I talked about this last time that we talked about the Marquette pods, but that you are a speaker by nature, you are on stage by nature. I am the side of the stage or behind the stage by nature, and so but like there is no pressure for me when I do that.
And there shouldn't be. Yeah.
I don't think I could, go up and do what you do, right? Like I couldn't go up and lead a talk for a long time.
For the record, I could never do what you do. So that's why we all have our talents and here we are.
But between that, like it feels very cool to be like, oh, I can sit up there and just be totally relaxed. Almost too relaxed. I've noticed my posture is terrible in those videos.
Ellen's like dozed off a couple times, so really relaxed.
I have almost fallen over sometimes because it's been on like busy days after shows or whatever.
Well, we do it at like 5 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah.
So like we're like the workday is not totally over. So I remember a couple times I've come in and I'm like 14 people are messaging me and I just have to put my phone away for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at that. We've talked about this, like unplugging. Like that is not a skill of mine. I'm working on it. But I'll get in and I'm like sitting there like checking messages and I'm like, I'm not going to solve anything from these seats. Like just be here. And it's, again, being present is a really helpful thing. And it's been really great because all these people that we're interviewing have some level of involvement with the 707 Hub already. Yeah. But also are totally different people. Like just very different paths, very different things of what they're doing. And it's been really unique to hear.
And I think once they kind of talk to us, I've noticed there's been a few guests that have then started talking to our connections over at Marquette. Yeah. That have been like, how do I get involved with this thing? You know what I mean? Like Tell me more. That are kind of like, how do we like, I think of Omar from 3rd Street Market Hall.
Shout out! I know he listens.
He was he was a guest on the show at Marquette, and then he came back and he did the Brood Ideas Challenge, which we somehow were asked to host. Again, was like another baffling thing for me to be like, oh, you're the host MC for an event.
Here we are.
Yep. Why me kind of thing like that? Like I am not the person for that.
There was a moment when it was ending, and there was like we were announcing winners. And we had 2 microphones. I'm like, Alan, I'll just do this part. Like, we're not gonna switch off and announce who's gonna be winning this thing. And
even every time that I talked during that, I was just like, I hope I'm doing this right.
Yeah, no, you're good. And there's not even like a right way. Like what I would do, and for those wondering what we're talking about, Marquette has its own version of Shark Tank, essentially, where students would come up, present their idea. It could be social impact or business impact. It was 12 in total, I think it was. So Alan and I would introduce the next kind of person or idea, and then we'd go back and then we would be like, thank you for coming, do a little commentary, and I would just like grasp onto one thing that I could like make a little bit funny, and then do that, and then like I'm like, all right, you're not really here to see me, so we just kept it flowing. And it was funny, I'd heard from a gentleman who I know, Jim Meyer, who also listens to this, and he may actually be at Wisconsin Club tonight hanging out listening to this with his friends, so shout out to Jim.
But, I like to think of a world where people listen to us en masse. They huddle around their radios.
Just all there. Actually, all of you listen to us.
Yeah.
Quite literally. So here we are. But he was like, hey, the host of this show last year was like sucked. So he told me they were like out there, and we got like a paragraph of what the idea was. But to just go up there and be like, and this is about this thing. And I don't know why I'm holding the microphone as I'm speaking to one here, but I'm like, and reading it word for word. And I was like, that should, and that's all they would do and just go back and forth. And it was like so scripted. I'm like, that's not a fun way to do this. So we got a little bit more, into it, and like you'd feel out the crowd because you did like people that are going to this are wearing suits, and like you just never know how that's gonna be. And once I heard laughter a little bit, I'm like, I think I can do this,
but that again is more of like a by nature thing, right? So like, and like I can host a podcast, in the
I don't even think you could do that.
The comfort of my own home with the safety net of being recorded, right? But then like to go out and be live and be like, okay, it's you, and direct feedback is so out of the realm for me usually.
It's taken me a long time to figure out how to do that. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm that good at it, but you just go out and you just do it. That's it, and like have fun with it, and you pick like something very harmless to just like have a joke about or whatever it might be, and then just roll with it in the moment, and then get off stage. And that's what I found, So it was a good time, and we had fun, and it was obviously a stretch project, for one of us.
For sure.
It was good, but it was one thing we were talking about off camera here was like when we told our board of directors for the Young Alumni thing of what we were doing here, they were like, how do you prepare, or like how do you do it? And we've always kind of said for 3.5 years now that we purposely don't do that much research on the person or on the idea. We know what the idea is, we know what they're doing, but we like to react in the moment and actually hear it from them, and then be like, oh, that's really cool, and organically ask questions based off of that.
For sure.
So it's not scripted. So we'll give them, and just I guess behind the scenes, a lot of times people will ask like, excuse me, what topic we're going to talk about, or tell us some questions, and I'll give them like
bullet points,
a general synopsis
outline
of like, here's what we'll probably talk about. 40 minutes, general overview, will guide the conversation, but I specifically don't give them questions. And I do that purposefully to be like, we're going to ask you some things, but we're going to go in different directions. And you could always tell who's been on a show before of when they could just take it and kind of run with it. We've had people where I've asked 2 questions, right? And they roll with it for the rest of the thing. And others, remember early on, we had someone that like, we had 3 questions
some questions in a row. that were, hit like, with maybe 1 or 2 word
like,
answers.
Where are you from? Green Bay, Wisconsin. And it's like, tell us a bit more about that.
Elaborate,
right? Yeah. That was our early days.
I do think that is, not to kind of toot our own horn on this kind of thing, but like
toot away, man.
I think that is when you get the most organic, like natural feeling podcast, is when there's the skeleton of research, but maybe not necessarily like I know every minuscule thing about this person, because when there's, I think we really don't have structure.
Yeah,
we have a natural flow between the two of us, but there is no like, first we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this.
Thank goodness.
Because I think we would get real sick of that real fast.
Yeah, we wouldn't
but
be
when
here
you
anymore.
When you have like a conversation based show like this, like I think the best thing to do is it made us better listeners, right? First off. And then from there, it also made us ask more natural questions, because you're following the train of thought, not I got to get to this next bullet point, or I have to get to this next, like, so tell us some more about blank thing that you do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I
you
do
take it anywhere you want.
Exactly.
Which is perfect. And it always is funny. I find that like, even if we didn't have like 5-minute warning or something, like there's always a natural point of like, this conversation's wrapped up.
It hits,
and we never even like look. We're just like, you could just tell, and that took a while to figure out how to like, okay, like, and this has been such a great time. Like, what's one thing you would tell, that type of thing, and it depends. Like, every audience is different, or every guest is different, but usually there's like a moment where you're like, okay, I think we talked about everything, had a couple laughs.
Yeah,
here we go.
So what we're trying to say is we're really good at what we do.
Freaking wonderful at it, and so good to be here. No, it's cool. It's been a learning experience, but it's been a lot of fun for sure.
Have you thought that anything from like doing this podcast has ever actually like impacted, whether it's your job or or speaking to students or anything like that? Have you taken anything from this and kind of moved that into
definitely
life outside of hustling sideways?
Yeah, I don't have a life outside of hustling sideways. That's a trick question, first of all. But second of all, I would say, I know I brought this up before, but the active listening part. I have ADD. I'm not good at active listening. It's not a strength of mine. And so when I'm now like approaching folks, I sort of think about like, let's actually get into the conversation and listen to what you're saying. That's been a learned skill for sure that I've been able to put in. And then just generally carrying on a conversation about like, you kind of roll with it. Like I've found like, I can lead people like in the next question, like, like, sounds great, tell me more about it. But really being naturally curious about folks and finding out. And what I've also found out is that like just doing this, and I never lead with like, I have a podcast, because that's like,
it does kind of come up though a bunch.
But people ask me like, what do you do? I'm like, I run a show. Like I feel like a nerd saying like, I do a podcast. Like, it's just like, not something I ever want to throw out there just off the bat. But when people ask, I usually find out something about them. Like, that's awesome. Like that, like, tell me what you do. And then when people tell me, about like if I'm working with someone and they're like, oh, I do this thing on the side. I'm like, we should talk about that. Like,
Right.
actually, funny you say that. I have a show about it. Or being interviewed by Forbes,
Yeah,
months
exactly.
ago about having
Subtle
it. So,
flex.
yes, that's humble brag. But that was really cool. Like, to be like, I got handed to me because someone knew that I can talk about this. And,
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize how many opinions and thoughts I had about people with side hustles until I like filled out that form of like
Right.
why it's so important to have something that's beyond your 9 to 5 that you're passionate about, regardless of whether you're monetizing it.
Right.
You just do it. Like you go out there, and that's a generational difference. I think that's gone on. But yeah, there's been a lot of things I've been able to translate over here for sure. How about you?
I am very much the same way. First off, like I also think as much as I have pushed breaking and entering for years and years and years, and people know the music parts of things.
Hold that thought.
Oh, there you go.
That's such a cool noise.
Good audio.
Yeah.
I should have put some reverb or something on it.
Damn.
Oh well. The amount that I've like pushed the website, the music website, and we talk about this. We'll talk about it in a bonus episode next week.
Wait for it.
The amount of times that people are kind of like they get what it is, but they don't, right? Kind of thing. I get a lot of people that ask me that kind of just know me like on the fringe kind of thing. That is like, so how's your podcast going?
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
I get that a
Or
lot
people
too.
that-
Yep.
Where like they understand like what a podcast is, and so they understand, and so I think people are able to connect with this more than maybe sometimes like
Totally.
the actual side hustle.
Yeah,
Right?
I've gotten texts before of people that are just it's happened maybe 2 or 3 times over the last couple of months, but someone's like was thinking about doing a thing, and they were like, it was really helpful to hear a story of like what you experience, and yeah, it's cool. I mean, we've met how many people over the years here?
At
who
least
have been,
70 some because we're at episode 80.
at least, right? And that's the part that I love, didn't expect, but also like it makes you want to keep going and tell stories of folks, because it's the beauty is in the story of people that like here's how they got started,
For sure.
here's what they went through, when we start relating it back to different folks like that's a blast. And I remember very specific things from people from over the years of like, oh, I remember when Riggs said this, or when Guillermo said this, or you know, I mean, thinking back to or like the really early days of doing this, and just how much like has changed, and you know, and I love that part is being able to like listen, hear that story, have someone relate to it, and actually have been impacted by it, where they want to either go do their own thing or like have at least learned one lesson from what someone did.
For sure. I think too, like I have also kind of grabbed from doing this is like being able to just kind of talk. I don't know, like is like to communicate more.
Alan learned how to speak.
I learned how. I was a mute before this thing started. I bought these microphones and said I'm gonna learn how to do it. No.
His nickname was Helen Keller before we got on this show.
But I really do think like I have kind of more of a gift of gab now than I did before.
It helps.
My wife has said this before to me, where she has been like, you can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I used to never really think that. Now I'm kind of like,
I think she got a
I
point.
can at least carry like through like those awkward pauses that'll happen if it's like somebody that you've never met kind of thing.
Totally.
Like she will introduce me to somebody like from her gym or something.
Yeah.
And you know, like me and this person, we have 2 different backgrounds.
Very
like,
different lives. Yeah.
They live here, I live here. They like this, I like that. They do this, I do that, whatever, right? But I can find some common ground and something that's going to become like a conversation piece.
Exactly.
Which is not something that I would always have done. There's definitely a point in my life where we would have just stood there next to each other awkwardly for way too long.
I remember this point in your life too.
Yeah.
I was probably say when you were around sophomore year, junior year,
God,
you would have done this.
I mean, figuring it out. Yeah, those early years of college.
I'm thinking of like
Thanks
Alan.
for sticking around.
Oh no, I gotcha. Alan, you know, really skinny Alan, and really skinny Jim, like with your hair like super long.
Yep.
And just like, hey guys.
Going
to a basketball game.
Oh God, yeah. So Jim and I went to a lot of basketball games
We
together.
did, and
Jim would go there.
I had a
real
DD.
early.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, I was the.
Although
DD.
I didn't really. we didn't drink a whole lot before games
No,
because I was usually there
because they were
waiting.
usually morning games.
Yeah.
If anything, they were rougher mornings than they probably should have been.
It was probably two or three moments where like I really drank before a game, like full throttle. But otherwise, I never really had
years
much.
that they had like the 8:00 game or whatever.
Gosh,
in college. Those were like the golden ones. But those first years of me going to basketball games with you, I knew Jim from working together at Catholic Financial Life in Milwaukee, and I didn't know his roommates that well. The one roommate that I did know was also the play-by-play announcer for the student radio.
That's right. Shout out Dave Tewksbury. There you go.
So he went and was in the booth, so I didn't really have anything to like talk to his other roommates
and then
about.
Billy was the athletic trainer for a year with the team. So like I didn't go to these games. These guys were either on the court or up in the booth.
Yeah, so it was me, Jim, and then like you knew this will not surprise a lot of people that know Jim, but he knew everyone. Oh, wow. And I knew like no one. And so like there was definitely points where like I couldn't like hold my own in a conversation because I didn't know. I don't know.
Everyone would be in the back. Hello, but it was great. It worked out well, and we got to do it. By the way, speaking of Catholic Financial Life, our old boss Colleen, just celebrated 45 years at the company.
Hey, a belated congratulations!
So, like, 45 years.
I haven't stopped in there in forever. I used to just walk in there,
which
is probably not a thing that you're allowed to do.
Maybe you shouldn't do that,
but
here we are.
I'd show up.
They would let you in.
Now I don't think so. Now
they let anyone in here these days.
Hey, when your website is called Breaking and Entering, you do what you want.
You do what But it was great. We had a lot of fun, and I mean, I think at the end of the day, like so many of our values aligned really quickly.
Yeah,
and that's why and gosh, I was just talking to someone earlier today about this show and like how long it's been and all that kind of stuff, and our goal now is to get to 100.
Oh yeah,
sure. And we're getting by the way,
there,
for everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we have one of the best things now about doing the show is there is a Tinder for podcasts. I'll call it.
Yeah, it's
called Podmatch. And a lot of folks that you have seen on the show who we don't necessarily know very well are from Podmatch, and we got some peeps in the pipeline right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really cool, unique stories. A lot of folks we've had. I would say the last 10, probably about 5 of them. We're from Podmatch, which is awesome, and that makes it even more organic. Frankly, so if we don't know who the hell they are, like we just meet each other as we're about to record.
Oh, and it allows you to reach so much farther really cool. out into the world.
Yeah.
The other thing now is we're getting emails from people.
Yeah.
Like we're getting emails from like agents and publicists that not for us. But
my agent has not reached out to
my people. Will talk to your people about the next episode.
Talk to your lawyers.
Yeah, no, we're getting like PR people that are suggesting guests to us now, which was not something. So either A, we landed on somebody's like database somewhere, which is probably more likely the thing that happened. But like the fact that people are like, oh yeah, this is like a show that is worth your time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we started this thing as an entirely just pet project. Like we'll see what happens.
And literally, we're gonna have 5-6 beers and do this. And, now we got 2, but like it's turned a little bit more professional, I would say.
Right. But like we started this thing with no anticipation of what it was gonna be. Yeah.
Now we should talk about is the little project that we did when we reached out to colleges and what happened with that. This was so funny and it worked out really well, but Alan had a brilliant idea of sending out messages to a couple hundred colleges, right? Like that are entrepreneurship courses.
We emailed about I think 200 to 300 different colleges.
Yeah. And it was basically writing up an email about this podcast, what we do for an entrepreneurship course or class, and here we go. And we got some responses.
We have. So I hope that I haven't looked at our stats in a while, which honestly is probably the best way to go about doing a podcast.
On less stats, more action. Kind of.
Yeah. That's a little tip for podcasters is sure. Don't look at your stats.
Yeah. But I remember so one guy responded in Detroit was where the school is at, and we had a call. I was on the road actually heading to Michigan, oddly enough at that time. And he was like, hey, I teach this course. Great guy. And he's, he's a lot of fun. And then we had a call with him again to talk about how to add this to the course. So we had students listening to 3 shows. I think
so. And then they picked one.
We handpicked the shows and they would write a summary about it. And then the idea was to have them come on with us and talk about it. Unfortunately, no students show up to that call, which is okay.
Not yet, but we'll figure
it will happen. Out. But either way, it was really unique to have these schools be like, oh, this is what we want our students learning, the real world of what we do.
I just told you that I was never thought that I would go back to a college and speak. I definitely never thought that I would be somebody's homework. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right. So we're the reason why a student's failing right now is what we're trying to say. They didn't respond. And it was really cool because we got to meet the dean of the school and there might be some future possibilities for us to collaborate. It didn't work out for this semester, but totally fine. But what it comes down to is the story of people as entrepreneurs being passionate, having ups and downs, and having lessons learned resonates.
Yeah, I think it's a universal thing.
Yeah,
really.
like people have that. People do it, and to get those stories out of folks in a really like organic, fun way has been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find nothing but joy out of it.
In addition to that one college that would like brought us on some Zoom calls to like do some stuff with students or whatever, we also had a few professors that were like, I'm going to send this out to my class.
Absolutely.
Which was kind of really the original goal, was just to be like, like send us to your class, and maybe we'll do it again soon, because
I think we will.
I mean, we can be.
And if you're listening to this show and one of those professors are yours, shoot us an email. Tell us that you're here listening to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. If you got here through some method of academia.
Yeah. And I hope it's like Friday night, and I hope you're out and about listening to this, and you've had...
Again, they huddle around the radios is what
That's
they do.
what they do.
It's like the 1940s all over again. They just chill.
It's
everybody like
we're all here.
They all like lean up like against like a piping hot radiator, and hear
it's gotta
us.
Be hot. Yeah, exactly.
We are like War of the Worlds or whatever.
That's
like
right.
We're that kind of level.
Yeah.
That's how people consume
Orson
this
Welles.
podcast.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Definitely not like just walking the dog or like on the bus. Or
not
something.
with your AirPods. So yeah, it's good.
No.
It's good. That was really funny, and Alan and I kind of realized, we were like, well, we're going to see what happens with this, and if this goes somewhere, and you start realizing the value that you have, which is something we talk about a lot on this show. Is if you do something really well, you give value out of it, and make sure that's known to people that you're working with, which is a lot of fun. But I think if I'm starting to think about like where we're going and what's to come. First of all, we'll be back at Marquette next semester.
Yep.
100%.
Very excited about
see us there. I think that's going to last for a while. That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great people.
We'll continue to be somebody's like afternoon.
That's right. We'll always do that. So we'll have live shows. We'll host a couple events for them. I think we're going to do a whole lot more with them, which is going to be a lot of fun. Generally, we're going to be back in this room all the time, as much as we can.
We should also talk about like where we're at in our side hustle too. And,
sure.
How that affects the pod, right?
Yep.
So I am in the middle of 8 weeks straight of shows for our beat battle. That's like the thing we do every year.
Yeah.
And you're just getting out of like the semester.
Yeah,
it's
the
your summer break.
Over. It's my summer break. I got one event, the Wisconsin Leadership Seminars that I know you've been to in the past. That's coming up here.
When I say wills, you say something.
When I say one, you say two. When I say wills, you say for you.
That's
one,
it.
Two,
there's like a whole thing.
Do the whole champ.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then out of that, 70 high schools, 80, or actually 120 high schools are there. So I'll have.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you did 120 high schools this year.
Yeah, and so that'll be awesome. And then the rest of my summer's pretty chill, and I have 3 things scheduled in August right now, and I'm always down to do more. I might start working with a company that I'll kind of do some of their gigs for them too. So there's a lot in the pipeline, which is gonna be a lot of fun. But August through October will be full go time.
Very cool.
But for companies also that want to work with me, you are in session in the summer, so I'm happy to do anything for you guys. But it's been fun, and I'm writing a little bit more, thinking about a little bit of merchandise, all that kind of stuff.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm in the middle of summer, which is the busy time for me usually.
It is, yes.
All of a sudden, all the festivals pop up. We're in the upper Midwest, so summer is everybody's time to
take advantage
do
of
everything.
Yeah.
So much so that actually, after we do these like 8 shows that we do every spring, basically like the weeks leading up to Summerfest in Milwaukee, like I don't have any other summer concerts booked for this year, like for me to put on.
Yeah.
And that is intentional because there are so many in Milwaukee now that like the marketplace is kind of saturated.
I'm sure there's just
every weekend there's a block party.
Yeah.
Every weekend there's a festival. There's something that it doesn't make sense to even try to throw more music at that.
Yeah.
Even though like I have like artists like clamoring to like work with me on shows, which also I don't take for granted. Like that's a very nice,
That's
like
awesome.
humble thing to be like, oh, that's kind of very cool.
Now,
that
if people want to know where these shows are at, where do they go to find them?
you can go to breakingandentering.net is the main spot. I also work for On Milwaukee, and I do
both. Yeah.
I work for On Milwaukee, which is a city media guide here, which I was not working there when we started this podcast. I don't know. Oh, no, I wasn't at the bank at that point. I was at my previous outlet, but I do the weekend preview. So I'm telling everybody where to go, what to see during the weekend.
Yes,
but yeah, there is literally so much that like it doesn't make sense for me to try and like book any more shows and add more stuff. But that is also going to open up some time for me to talk to some guests here on this podcast.
Have a lot of fun on it. Yeah. So we'll do. It'll be live shows. It'll be more bonuses. It'll be maybe, honestly, I think we're going to end up posting up at a bar somewhere and just kind of having a microphone out and seeing what happens. So
that might actually be a really cool way to do it.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a little bit, and we'll just do a show and maybe on a Saturday and just keep
you know who does that?
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Barron's, the
the
Manitowoc Minute guy.
Yeah.
I met him once at a bar around in my neighborhood.
There you go.
So shout out to Creed's Foggy Dew. But he literally was like just recording his podcast and would take guests from the bar.
That's awesome.
Or,
That's
classic. Would have people on kind of thing. So maybe we do something like that.
That
but
may happen.
We're like, hey, you work at a side hustle. You have a thing going.
Come on in. Even if you don't, you had a shot.
That might be some content.
That's going to be the parental advisory warning on when
we're gonna just rapid fire and be like, tell us about your business. little short episodes like that.
I love it.
Huh.
Well, we can make this happen anytime you want to. By the way,
bookmark this. Somebody bookmark.
It's gonna happen.
Future Alan that is editing this podcast. Bookmark this moment.
It's right here.
We might have just had a great idea.
It's here. It's
30 minutes into the episode.
I really could do it at like Who's on Third or Oak Barrel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this could be like tell us about your... Yeah.
But lots to come. It's going to be a blast. We're happy to celebrate 80. And
do we have anything extravagant? Yeah. Do we have anything extravagant we want to do by 90? I think we said we wanted to do international last time, which I think we got a Canadian.
And we got a guy from Australia.
Yeah, we had Australia.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in the last 10, but I'm pretty sure.
I would love to do... I think a show at a bar would be a lot of fun.
Show at a bar could be fun.
I think we should do that. And I can make that happen.
Oh, yeah. We got places. We got places. That's the beauty of living in Milwaukee.
Maybe
everybody has a few bars that they know that are
maybe number 90 should be at a bar.
Oh, I like that.
And people can join it like that. Let's set that
again. Future Alan,
we'll
bookmark this segment and be like,
that'll be so much fun if we're like just post up and we're like, it's our check-in. We're live at so and so bar.
We're live at this bar.
Come on in.
That might happen.
I think we could do that.
Well, the only way you're gonna know is if you stay tuned to this podcast. You
got to keep listening to find out.
So, Jim, how do they do that? Oh, that's the other thing that's been really great in this last 10 episodes is you've taken over doing some of the end stuff and just try it.
See how it goes.
Neither one of us actually have this nailed to
it
what
never
it's
goes
supposed
well.
to be. No, it's never right.
Which is great.
So rock paper scissors. Who wants to do it this time?
You take it.
All
I'm
right,
not doing
fine.
I'm out.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Jim and I both sincerely appreciate every single person that listens to it. Tell a friend about it because the social media algorithms are changing all the time. So comments help. Sharing the show helps.
It all helps.
The 5-star ratings help. We are the Hustling,
which is a rule. So
legally the only one you can give us. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn,
X. Oh, you already said Twitter.
Yeah.
Sure. We're on all those things.
We're on all those things. TikTok. That's the one I forgot. TikTok. See?
Perfect.
Never get it right.
There was one. Yep.
And we are all over the place. If you want to be part of these next 10 episodes or any other episode down the line, if you want to come to Marquette with us and do a live podcast.
Be on all 10 of them. It'll be great.
All 10 of them.
Yes. We'll have you in.
We're just going to post up here in the window.
Here. You'll just sit there.
You don't get a microphone, though. You're our live audience. If you want to actually be on the show, though, send us an email. It is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
keep on hustling.
We will see you for many more episodes after this.
Peace.